What's up, guys? Welcome back to Daniel Talks Football right here on YouTube. I am Daniel and we are back with another video. In this video we are going to be ranking every single Premier League striker. Well, the best Premier League striker from every Premier League club. We're going to be putting them into a tier list and you can see what I think of all of them. The 5 tiers we have today are the top one being world class. Speaks for itself. I think he's absolutely quality. Big move impending, so if he got that big move, he could become world class. He's good, so he's good, but has he maybe shown enough to go up to big move impending? Just not good enough, and then championship at best. Now, before we get into the video, I do just need to remind you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below what you think of the tier list, and share the video to all of your friends. Also, go follow the Instagram, Daniel Talks Football, and go and follow the TikTok, Daniel Talks Football. The TikTok is now up. I think it's Daniel Talks Football, the TikTok. Go follow it. It's now officially up, so go follow it and you can see some small clips go up on there. As of recording, the first one's going up tomorrow, I think, but this is a Saturday. This is being recorded. So by the time you're seeing this, there will be a TikTok up, so go and have a watch of that. First striker we will be ranking will be Patrick Bamford. Now, for Bamford, I'm putting him in just not good enough. I really like Patrick Bamford, but he's too injury prone for me and he just does not score enough goals. He's playing in a Leeds side at the moment that has a lot of attacking talent, and yes, he had a really good season a few years back, but at the moment he just isn't doing enough for this Leeds side for me. I just look at him and I just don't think he's doing enough at all, and he's too injury prone. He doesn't get enough minutes, so for me he goes in just not good enough. He's been so injury prone over the last few years, which has meant that he slipped down that England pecking order. And he's probably is still Leeds' first choice striker. That's just because they don't have anyone else. I think Leeds do need to bring in another striker. And I just don't think Bamford's good enough. So hence he goes into the just not good enough category. Yeah, I'm sorry Patrick, but you're just too injury prone for me. Let's move on to another injury-prone striker, actually, and that's Calvert-Lewin. Now, for Calvert-Lewin, I'm going to be putting him into he's good. Because, unlike Bamford, every time Calvert-Lewin... Actually, you know what? He's going into just not good enough again, Calvert-Lewin. I don't think he is good enough. I was going to try and put him into he's good, but I don't think he is. Again, he's too injury-prone, and when he does play, I don't look at him thinking, oh, you're definitely going to score here. But you will miss chances. And yes, he had a couple of good seasons, but he does seem to be going back to his old form and all his injury proneness. And he seems to be more focused with what's going on off the pitch rather than what's going on it. And for me, I just don't think he's good enough. He's not close to the England squad at the moment. And he just screams just not good enough. Unlike Bamford, though, I do feel Bamford's just injury prone. Calvert-Lewin, I do feel like maybe needs a move. I'm not sure to where, but maybe he's got a bit too comfortable at Everton. And maybe he's getting to that point now after being at Everton for so many years that he needs a move to reinvigorate himself again, get rid of the injuries as well, which could be part of the problem. Well, he's part of the problem at the moment. But get a move, start afresh somewhere, and try again. That could be something that's needed for Calvert-Lewin. And I've tipped him for places like Arsenal in the past. I think he is a good striker, but he's too injury prone and he's just not working at this Everton side. So even though I do think he's good, and I know that means I should put him into the he's good category, there's something missing for me. And if it's the injury proneness, if he's just not regular enough, he's not consistent enough, I think just not good enough. It fits Calvert-Lewin into a T. Next up, let's go for Mitrovic. Now, Mitrovic I'm going to be putting into the he's good category. I think so far Mitrovic this season, he's proven to everyone that he is actually good. Going into the season, I thought, you know what, this guy, he's not looking like he's going to impress. I put Fulham 19th, I think, in my initial predictions, because I looked at them and I thought they're just not a good enough side. Yet Mitrovic has really been carrying this side, and I'm really impressed with what he's managed to do so far this season. You know, he scored 6 goals out of 8 games, and I do think he's a good striker. Contrary to what I've said in the past, I think he can do it in the Prem. Looking at what he's done so far this season, I think he is good. I think he's finally breaking through from what we all thought he was, which was, you know, someone that's not quite good enough for the Prem, but too good for the Championship. Now I think he is good enough for the Premier. And because of that, I'm putting Alexander Mitrovic, the Serbian, into he is good. Next up, let's go for someone who's going straight into world class. Harry Kane. He is world class. Kane is playing in the Spurs side under Conte, which are absolutely firing. He's got 7 goals so far this season. I think he's top 10 all-time Premier League goal scorers right now. Of all time. And he's just incredible. I think Kane has shown it for so many years. He absolutely is world class. And he's someone I look at and I'm so overly impressed with his style of play. He just screams world class to me in that attacking partnership at Spurs alongside Son, Kulusevski and Richarlison obviously now coming through as well. Kane just is world class, and there's a reason why he never gets dropped. He's the reason why he's England's number 9, and that's because he's world class. So for me, Harry Kane straight into world class. Now next up, let's go for Jamie Vardy. Now I'm going to put Jamie Vardy into he's good. I think it's the way I've named these categories here. Because he's not... I'm changing big... I don't like the big move impending category. I've decided I don't like it. I'm going to change that to he's very good. I'm changing it to he's very good because I don't think I've worked... And I think Vardy's going into he's very good. He's not big move impending and that's why I couldn't put him there. But just he's very good. And Vardy is very good. He scored so many goals in the Prem over the years. He's broken records to a goal scoring, being the oldest Golden Boot winner and getting the 13 goals in 11 games. Yes, Vardy is starting to fall off a little bit now. However, you have to look at what he's done throughout his whole time in the Premier League. And because of that, for me, Vardy goes into he's good. And he's very good. And there's no question about it. Jamie Vardy, the Englishman, straight into he is very good. Was going to put him as he's good, but I've changed that category now. So keep that in mind. He's very good has replaced big move impending. Because I'm going to be honest, I'm looking at this list and I don't think there's many people who are better than good but have a big move impending. Next up, let's go for Danny Welbeck. Now Welbeck goes into he's good for me. Does Welbeck score lots of goals for Brighton? No. But is he a consistent performing player who, yes, he won't get 20 goals a season, but he might get 8 to 10. He helps link in play. He does get the assist for other players in that Brighton side. Recently, he's really been helping out Gross. And I think Welbeck is a good player. I think that's why he goes into he's good. He is just a standard level. He won't probably move from Brighton. And if he does, he'll probably go to another club at that kind of level. Maybe Crystal Palace, someone like that. He did used to have a lot of potential, obviously, and I do recognise that. He was a player when he broke through at Arsenal that many people thought would reach the top and would go into that he's very good category. However, he has kind of levelled out at a good Premier League striker, and that's why for me he goes into he's good. He's playing in a good Brighton side at the moment and he's looking very good. So for me, Danny Welbeck into he is good. Next up, let's go for Mikhail Antonio. For me, he's going into he's good. Antonio is inconsistent. He gets more goals and he's proven it for more seasons than both Bamford and Calvert-Lewin have. That's why he's good. Because while he's inconsistent, he's been inconsistent for quite a few years but still gets the goals, if that makes sense. Calvert-Lewin and Bamford were good for a couple of years, but ever since they've been inconsistent and have been injury prone. Antonio is injury prone, but when he's on the pitch I'm confident in him, which I'm not with Calvert-Lewin and Bamford. So for me, Antonio does go into he's good. Obviously, West Ham have brought in a new striker in the form of, I forgot his name now, Gianluca Scamacca. But I still think that Antonio is a good player. He's got 1 goal and 1 assist so far this season. He has played 8 games for West Ham, and even with Scamacca coming in, that shows that he's still a big figure in that squad. He's got the biggest something in world football, and for me, he goes into he's good. I just think he is a good striker. Next up, let's go for Alexander Isak. Now, for me, he goes into he's very good. He proved a lot at Sociedad. Yes, last year at Sociedad, he wasn't excellent. I acknowledge that. And anybody who wants to argue that, I get that last year at Sociedad he wasn't very good. However, he's already got 2 goals in his Newcastle career in 3 games. And for me, he's a very good striker. He was linked with Arsenal. He was linked with a couple of clubs last summer for a reason. He got a move to Newcastle. And at Newcastle, he will turn into their Aguero type, where he will just play for them for years. So for me, Alexander Isak, he's very good. Next up, let's go for Che Adams. For me, Che Adams is Championship at best. Shoot me. I don't think he's a good enough striker for the Premier League. He's scored 2 goals and got 1 assist so far in this Southampton side, but Southampton do need to upgrade him. He's not a good enough striker to push you up the table. They've brought in Sekumara from Bordeaux, I think he came in from, and he is somebody that could maybe look to develop beyond Adams. I'm not saying Adams needs to move back down to the Championship, because I don't think he does. I think he would be a perfectly fine rotation player at Southampton. But if he did want to flourish again, the Championship would be the place to do that, and he wouldn't be able to do that in the Prem. For me, Che Adams is a good player, but he's just not one of them who's right at the very top of his game. And hence, if he did want to flourish and if he did want to score goals, the Championship would be the best place for him. Next up, I'm just going to put a couple of players into world class that deserve to be there and they don't really deserve much talking because they don't need it. Erling Haaland, straight into world class, there's no need to talk about it. Cristiano Ronaldo, having a tough season at Manchester United this year, but if you look at everything he's done in the Premier League and in the game in general, he is world class. There's no need to even argue about it particularly. Those two are world class players. Haaland's the up and coming one, obviously, still young but scoring so many goals with this Man City side. And Ronaldo has been there and done it and is slowly easing out of the game possibly. Now starting on the bench for United most of the time. As of recording this, I haven't seen what City are doing in the Manchester derby, but if Ronaldo starts that game on the bench, that will truly show that he is now not as good as he used to be. However, if you look at what Ronaldo's done in the game, he just is world class and there's no need to debate it. Next up, let's go for Gabriel Jesus. Now, I was very close to putting Jesus into world class. However, if you look at the players that are in world class, he just hasn't quite reached that level yet. After being a bench warmer at City, yes, he played some games, and when he did play, he scored. There's still that stat after this North London derby that in every game Jesus has scored in, his team have won. He's got 5 goals and 3 assists so far this season. Simply, I just need two solid years of this before calling world class. Because if you look at the players in that world class category, they have done it for... I know Haaland's maybe done it for a year and a half, but Haaland just is world class. Jesus, I need to see a little bit more from him. I think he will become world class, and I just need a little bit more. So for me, Jesus, he's very good. Like him as a player, I really like him as a player. I think he was an excellent signing for Arsenal. However, I just need that little bit more before I can bump him up to that world class category. Next up, let's go for Armando Brosier. Now, where am I going to put Brosier? I'm going to put Brosier into... He's good. He was good at Southampton last season, and he proved that to everyone. Yes, he hasn't scored so far this season, but in that Southampton side last year, he looked like he was a very good striker, and people did think he would come back to Chelsea and play. We're going to have to see what happens under Potter. But I do think he's a good striker. I think he is on par with those, you could replace Broja at Brighton and he would do a good job. You could put Broja into Brighton, and he'd do a good job. Same at Fulham, same at West Ham. To replace Antonio, Welbeck and Mitrovic, the other 3 people I have in there. So for me, Broja, he is a good striker. He's still young, obviously, at the age of 21. And I think he's a very, very good player. He will continue to improve and he could easily get into that he's very good category, especially at being at Chelsea. But I need to see a little bit more from him. So for me, he's a good striker. He's a solid standard Premier League striker, So he's good, He's the type of striker that would score 12 goals for a side that finishes 10th in the Premier League table. Broja could do that. And I don't know how many he scored at Southampton last year, but it was somewhere near that. So for me, Broca, he is a good striker. Next up, let's go for... Who should we go for next? Let's go for Taiwo Awoniyi. For me, Taiwo Awoniyi is just not good enough. Taiwo has scored... I'm calling him Taiwo because I can't be able to say Awoniyi every time. He scored 2 goals so far this season for a Forest side. And considering this is going out on Monday night, I'm a Leicester fan and we're going to be playing Forest a couple of hours after this goes out, so this could go very wrong. But I just don't think he's good enough. When he's not, he's good, because I don't think he'd get 10 to 12 goals for a mid-table Premier League side. He was very good in the Bundesliga, and if they do go down, Taiwo Awoniyi will score loads of goals in the Championship, I'm sure of it. But I just don't think he's good enough for the... it's tough. Because I really think he's a really good striker. But for me, he's just not... If you look at the other strikers, then he's just not good enough as well. He's not good enough to be bumped up into that he's good category. So for me, Awoniyi, just not good enough. Next up, it's an easy one that goes into the Championship at best category, and it is Dominic Solanki. He's come into the Prem time and time again, and has proven that he's not good enough and he can't do it here. He'll have 1 or 2 games every year that'll make people think, in the Prem, that'll make people think, oh, he's good. But he just comes back and proves he's not good enough. At the Championship, he's a very good striker and will score you 20-25 goals. In the Prem, Championship at best. And yeah, it's a simple one for me. Next up, we'll go for Raul Jimenez. Now, I hate doing this, but for me, he goes into he's not good enough. He was really good before his injury, but he has clearly changed. 3 games so far for Wolves this season, 0 goals. The fact they've brought in somebody like Diego Costa and have seen that as an upgrade, or somebody to at least challenge Jimenez, shows a lot after Costa's been out of the game for a while. Jimenez just isn't good enough, and he's injury prone. Ever since that head injury, which was so unlucky, he just hasn't been up to the same standard, and I hope he gets back there, because what happened to him was, obviously so cruel, and nobody deserves to go through that. But he's just not the same player he used to be. And for that, he goes into just not good enough. Do I think he'll probably keep at Wolves? Possibly. Could a move benefit him? Possibly. But I just don't think he's good enough, sadly. And it hurts me to say it. But he's just not good enough. I'm looking at the category now and thinking I've done Calvert-Lewin really dirty. But we're going to stick with it. Next up, we will go with Ivan Toney. Toney, for me, straight into he's good. The fact he got into that England squad, I know he didn't play, but he got into the squad, shows that he's a good striker. He didn't play because of Gareth Southgate. The fact that he got there shows that he's a good striker. I look at him and I think, yeah, you could easily get a move to a top side. Who would want him? Could United maybe go for him? I'm not sure. Spurs have got their strikers now. Arsenal have got their... If Arsenal didn't get Jesus, could have seen him going there. He will get a top move, Toney, and I think he's a very good striker. I like him a lot, and for me, Toney, he's good. He is a standard good Premier League striker. Next up, let's go for Jean-Philippe Mateta. For me, Mateta, it's another easy one. He's just not good enough. You know what? No, he's Championship at best. The reason why Palace aren't doing better than they are is because of the striker. He's holding them back. 1 goal in 6 games so far this season. They've also got Ayew in there. I was struggling to pick a main striker for Southampton for Palace to be honest. What Palace need is they need to go out and in January bid 30 million for Armando Brosier from Chelsea and see if they can get it done. Or if he's not getting game time, maybe try and get a loan, because he would do really well in that Palace side. I'm confident of it. But Palace just have too many just bang average strikers. Between Mateta and Ayew, and to be honest, yeah, they're the only 2. Edouard as well, sorry. It's just not good enough for me. So yeah, for me, Mateta, Championship at best. Next up, we'll go for Ollie Watkins. And for me, again, he's good. he will get you 10 to 12 goals every year in the Prem. Yes, he makes some decisions that people don't agree with, but 1 goal and 2 assists so far this season. I think he is a decent striker, and he is good. If Villa do want to push up to Europe, they possibly do need to bring in somebody new. I know they tried Ings and that hasn't particularly worked out. So Villa could be another one that could try and get Broker, possibly. But for me, Watkins, he is good. And then last but not least, Darwin Nunez of Liverpool. I could put him anywhere from he's very good to just not good enough, to be honest. So I'm going to slap him in the middle and go, he's good. He was good at Benfica, but for the price tag, and that's the thing with Nunez, it's the price tag that's been harming him. If he came to the Prem for 30 million, there wouldn't be anywhere near as much scrutiny on him. It's the fact he costs so much that people are criticising him so much. Still think he's a good player though. So for me, Darwin Nunez, he is good. And that just about finishes off the tier list. Thank you to everyone for watching this video, and I'll catch you all again in the next one. See ya!